practice yesterday. Here at our Horns That Have Passed, he gave a little overview of where they are. It's 6 practices in. Sark, what's been going good for them?
It's been a good first 6 practices for us. We had the first 4-day block. We took Sunday off and then came back Monday and Tuesday with really competitive, tough practices. Yesterday was half pads. Today was our first day in full pads, and we pushed the guys. It was a long, hard practice in the heat. I thought we responded, really well with a lot of different aspects of the game that we've gotten ourselves into. We're through a lot of the first, second down work. Done plenty of third down work, and we just started the red zone today. So situational football is alive and well for us as we'll continue to grow and not just installing plays, but learning how to play the game the way we want to play it. So, really challenging the guys on their mental toughness and what that takes and what that entails. That's a reason we practice in the afternoons because I think that does help develop that mental toughness. When fatigue sets in, can we remain focused? Can we still be attentive to the details? Can we play a consistent brand of football when fatigue sets in, when it's hot, and when we're in the fourth quarter of practice? So that was a good start for us today.
All right, Longhorns will have their first full padded scrimmage coming up on Saturday. And I'm assuming, we'll confirm this, but I'm assuming they're going to do that at 11 in the morning, right? The first game in 3 weeks from Saturday is 11 in the morning, their body clock time. I'm assuming they start to get on that rhythm, right? They're practicing in the afternoons right now, but that'll change to the mornings when the school begins and they go back to class. I would imagine they go mornings and start to get Texas and the players ready for that 11 o'clock kick at Ohio State. Following. He also then, first question out was, can you give an update on Andre Kojo, the redshirt sophomore offensive lineman? And Sark did confirm that he suffered a season-ending knee injury, which our friends at On Texas Football were the first to report that. But even with that said, Sark is still very confident about the depth of his lines of scrimmage. That's one thing that he says has stuck out to him so far.
Yeah, DJ's back. Ryan.
This is him talking about DJ Campbell and where they stand O-line and D-line.
It's probably one more day. We're going to give him one more day tomorrow off, and then he'll be back rolling on Thursday. So that'll be great. The interior D lineman, man, we're deep. That's probably the biggest thing I can say about that group right now. And we're playing a lot of guys, which has been good. As you guys know, a lot of our practices will two-spot, where it might be the 1s and the 3s on this field and the 2s and the 4s on the upper field, and then we'll go 1s and the 2s on the lower field, 3s and the 4s on the upper field. But we've had 2 of our 6 practices where we've been on one field, and we're going 1s, 2s, 3s, 1s, 2s, 3s. And that is when I really feel our depth, because it's really interchangeable. A lot of those guys are pushing and trying to get more and more playing time. So I've been impressed. I've been impressed with Murad Watson, Cole Brevard. I've seen a step out of him. Hero Canoe, Alex January's stepped his game up from where he was a year ago. Levon, in what he's bringing, what he has going. So we're fortunate in that room right now. We've got great depth. I don't think we're going to have to overuse guys. And again, my biggest thing is, do we have enough depth, man? When you look at our team. And I think about January. As much as I'm thinking about August 30th, I'm thinking about this journey we're trying to go on. And hey, football is a contact sport, and things happen in our sport, unfortunately, as we found out with Andre Kojo. And the fact that we have the depth on the O-line right now, the same with the interior defensive line, the same with the tight ends, that's why we have to keep trying to develop these young players. Whether it's a Justice Terry or a Josiah Sharma, we got to keep bringing these guys along. They're probably not finished products today. If we were playing today, probably not a great chance they would play. But over time, they're going to earn their way. That's why we got to keep developing these players and not just get into game plan mode. We got to keep working with our young players too.
All right. So he was then asked, Jack, about compare it to last year with Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins, who are now off to the NFL. And Sark actually revealed and said, I think if we have the same group with those guys back, they'd play less this year than they did last year. which tells you he really likes, as he just said, the depth. Travis Shaw, the North Carolina transfer, Levon Johnson from Maryland, Marad Watson, who he mentioned, Alex January, who's been on the roster. These additions, Hero Kanu from Ohio State. This is a good thing, Jack, because when I think about the question marks I have for Texas in 2025, how do you replace Vernon Broughton? How do you replace Alfred Collins on the heels of trying to replace Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat? And how do you keep rotating these defensive tackles? Sark, actually, you just heard him say it, thinks they're deeper, 1, 2, and 3 with quality, even more than they were last year, where they were one of the best defenses in the country. That's a good thing, because we know what they're doing on the perimeters. They know what they're doing defensively on the edges. And at linebacker, if they can be stout against the run and stout against SEC teams and Ohio State in 24 days, they're going to be tough to move the football on. Yeah,
and we saw that last year. Defensive tackle and the interior of the defensive line was a concern going into the season. Kenny Baker and company, we've seen it with Steve Sarkisian that they're going to selectively attack the portal. They're not just going to go big-name hunting. They're going to look for positions in need, and now back-to-back seasons, you've needed to fill a defensive line. And they've done that, and I have all the faith in the world in this coaching staff that that's going to be another strength of the team. Just because, go back to last year, that was a concern, and how many goal line stands and fourth down stops did we see on that interior, whether it was Clemson or A&M? That they were stout on the interior when it needed to be.
Okay. We mentioned earlier that we would play this for you. Sark talking about historically, you'll hear him say it, that defenses are way ahead of offenses early in camp. That's just the norm. That's the way that goes. And here's Sark expanding on that of why 6 practices in and with still 3 weeks to go to the first game, why the defense typically is ahead of the offense.
Historically, for me, surely your defense better be ahead of your offense, and we are. I think our defense is playing really good right now. The best teams I've ever been on, the defense usually is kind of ahead from that perspective on an offensive standpoint. Not that the offense isn't doing some really good things. I think the second play of team run today, I think Trey Wisner snapped off about a 50, 60-yard run, which was great to see. I don't love that because I want our defense to be so dominant that it makes it so hard on our offense to do what they want to do. But we're doing good enough stuff, but I think offensively we can play better. The key on offensive football is it takes all 11. You have one guy have a breakdown at left guard, that's a sack. We may have guys running wide open down the field. On defense, the 3 technique might go the wrong way, but the end can make the tackle, and nobody notices the 3 technique make that mistake. And so, we're fighting for consistency on both sides of the ball, but I think really the consistency is paramount on the offensive side of the ball, where that's what we got to keep pushing these guys towards. And then, like I touched on, we can't harbor the negative plays and be like this. Like, it's over. It's not the end of the world. It's okay. We're going to have 70, 75 snaps a game. Like, let's get on to the next play. Let's keep playing. And so I think there's some mental toughness that we got to keep working on that aspect that we'll get to. But I would say our defense is ahead of our offense, and I'm okay with that.
All right, there's Steve Sarkisian. All right, there's Horns at Half Past, brought to you by Dr. Greg Eckert. All right, Jack, let's dive into the Game Time Top 20 Countdown. We'll do a quick one here because you'll hear why. We'll get to a deeper dive on our number 18 team in the country when Noah rolls in. But let's reveal who is the 18th ranked team in our countdown to number 1.
It's the Game Time Top 20 College Football Countdown. Number 18, the Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah, the Game Time Top 20 Countdown presented by Doc's Backyard in Sunset Valley. It's our Texas Game Day Road Watch Party headquarters for 2025. When the Longhorns take to the road, 102.7 ESPN will be live at Doc's Backyard in Sunset Valley for all the pregame coverage and in-game watch parties, including 24 days from now when they play the Ohio State Buckeyes. Michigan. Is this a reach, Jack, to have Michigan at number 18? You realize they were 10th in total defense last year at Michigan. 10th. They were 129th in offense.
Yeah, just brutal.
129th. They were dead last in the nation, Michigan. You know what they couldn't do last year? Well, not much, but the forward pass.
Yeah.
They averaged 5.4 yards per throw last year. Only 3 teams averaged fewer passing yards per game than Michigan with air yards. Could you name them? You probably could, Jack. Who threw the ball for fewer yards per pass than Michigan?
How many teams was it?
3. Think academies.
Yeah, I was
Air Force, Army, and Navy.
Army, Navy, and Oklahoma, maybe, but no.
OU is a little bit better.
Yeah.
but not much.
It's it's like when Alex Orji came onto the field, it was like everybody packed. I was making fun of Noah last year. I was like, you throw Alex Orji out there, I'm coming with punt block.
Yeah, you really thought this was going to work? No. What are you guys doing? But that's unbelievable. When you're coming off a national championship, and I know Jim Harbaugh left, and some of the coaches left, Jesse Minter, but you can't go from national championship to 129th, and your passing stats are on rival with the military academies. That's embarrassing. But so maybe it's a reach to have them at number 18, but they still have that defense.
Big Bryce.
And they have Bryce Underwood coming in, and they added players through the portal. Because if they're they're halfway better on offense, they're going to be better because their defense was top 10 last year, even with that horrible offense. They're almost a carbon copy of Oklahoma. Who, guess what? We're going to hear about Oklahoma later in the week, so that's a good thing. But Michigan, number 18 in our countdown. We'll talk more about that. Noah Kreitz, of course, will be in here with us in the 7 o'clock hour and on. He's a Michigan fan, so he was actually at their bowl game. People forget this, Jack. Michigan beat Alabama in the Outback Bowl. Remember, they beat Ohio State in Columbus. We all remember that before Ohio State went on the 4-game tear and won the national championship. Michigan held them to 7 points or 10 points. It was 13-10. Then they went and played Alabama, and Alabama had Jalen Milroe playing. They had Ryan Williams playing, and they beat them. So that defense comes back for Wink Martindale. If they get the offense going, they could be a thorny proposition in the Big Ten because they can play some defense.
Yeah. Are you aware that Bryce Underwood doesn't turn 18 for 2 more weeks?
Well, we're going to ask Noah about this, and we also have the expert opinion of our man Cole Kubelik from ESPN and SEC Network on Michigan. But, I'm going to ask Noah this. Is there a quarterback battle? Because they have a fifth-year kid that came in through the portal that we'll tell you about coming up. And then there's Bryce Underwood, who's, you're right, not yet 18 years old, who was the number 1 quarterback prospect in the nation.